Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We have been working on this super sweet Bally Strikes and Spares pinball machine. And we did a video where we worked on the rectifier board and kind of the power coming into the cabinet. We did a video where we worked on the solenoid driver board. And now we are ready to put a new MPU in it and see if the thing will boot up. So this game, the cabinet's in pretty good shape. The back glass is in excellent shape. Pretty much mint, but the playfield is rocked. Look at this. So we have a video coming up where we'll work through this playfield. We just haven't done it yet. But it's coming. I'm confident we're going to get it looking great. Don't worry about it. But we've got the thing, as you can see, it's lit up and everything. The power supply and everything is working fine. And we got the display voltages. See that little orange light in there? That's like a little bit of high voltage. So the displays have the voltage they need, but nothing works yet because the MPU is not in it. So let me drop down this back glass and I'll show you what it looks like in there again. And then we've actually got a brand new MPU that we're going to put in it. So here is our rectifier board and power supply. There is the solenoid driver board. This is the stuff we worked through last time. And now we're up here to this MPU that is missing. Now, why would it be missing? Probably because it had a battery on it that just started eating the thing alive. The Bally MPU boards, they installed a battery on it. And over the years, that will start causing major problems. So, when it leaks, what it usually does, with this back glass in the way, it's kind of hard to get over there where I can show you what's going on. What it usually does is it messes up this particular connector. This is the connector that all the power comes in on. You can't really tell just by looking at it, but by looking at it, all of the little pins in there actually still look kind of shiny. So I don't believe that they actually got messed up by the battery corrosion. I don't even know that there was any battery corrosion. You don't know for sure because the board's missing. So it could be that they took it out before it did that or something. This is the other one that plugs in here. Sometimes it will get corrosion as well. Now if you look at this one, it looks a little worse for wear. But mainly what you're seeing is oxidation and where dirt and dust has gotten to it. I'll tell you though, I don't really think that it necessarily needs the pins replaced on this one. It's a good habit to just do it anyway, but I don't see any damage at all from the battery, so I don't think I'm going to worry about it. We're going to try it without replacing it. But that is something you need to look into because more times than not, that connector is all messed up. And like I said, you're not going to hurt anything by replacing them. It's a good idea. But I'm not so sure that this one needs it. So, oh, you know what? Look over here. What is that? Look at the mount on the behind it. What in the world is going on there? It almost looks like there was some kind of short. That's not battery damage. That's like the power supply shorted and started a small little singeing fire or something. So maybe something like that went on, and that's why they took the MPU out. You can sometimes tell too by looking at the back of this lamp driver board and seeing if it looks like their battery acid has been battery alkaline has been dripping down it. So you can see those traces. Those are actually on the back of the board. The board's got a little bit of translucence to it, so you can see through it a little bit. All those traces are actually on the back of the board. Look at this decoder chip here. So is that alkaline damage or is that just filth? Well, the one 3 down looks like that too. I think it's just old. I think it's just dust. See the greenness on the transistor there? Whoa. That is also kind of common. Yeah, see, look, so there's the one about halfway down that's all screwed up. That's not necessarily alkaline damage. Look at that. It could be, but that's something that's very common to those transistors. However, that is just below where the battery is, so it very well could be. That alkaline literally dripped out of the battery. I've heard that it gases too, that it outgasses, and so it's not necessarily a liquid, that it's like a gas that does it, so it could be. But the connector to me looks all right, so we're going to try it with it the way it is. Now, let me grab the board, and there's a nice manual in it that kind of tells you what you should check out before you pop the board in, and we'll check that over. All right, so here is the beautiful Alltech replacement MPU board for Bally pinball machines and Stern pinball machines, old school Stern pinball machines. The ultimate MPU board, they called it. There's their website. You can buy these at Marco Specialties, and you can buy these at the Pinball Resource. These are our two favorite places to get them. I don't know how much they are now, but they're about $200. So it's going to be somewhere around that. And it's just a redesigned version of the board. They have sold thousands and thousands of these things, and their warranty and their service, all of that is excellent. So if you buy this board, now I like the original boards. You know, you just saw I've got the original rectifier board, the original solenoid board, the original lamp driver board, the original displays even. I like the original boards. So if you can fix your original board, do that. But if you need a replacement, I'm not a fan of just blindly swapping in brand new boards because it's a good way to fry a brand new board. But if you need a replacement, yours is missing, yours is just completely destroyed, there's no saving it, this is a great option. They're not paying me to say this either. They've never paid me anything. I buy their product and like it. They are up to version 9.2, and they started at version 1. So you can imagine all of the revisions that they've done on this thing. So it fits in the same spot, of course, as the original one. It's a little shorter. The original one comes up to about here. It's the same width, and it's got the same dip switches that they used to set the settings on the original board. I don't even know what all of this stuff is. The reason that it has such a large EEPROM is because it has all the software for all of the games. So it can do all the Bally games and a lot of I think all of the early Stern games too. That's very cool. It also has some convenient test points down here to check out some of your voltages to make sure they're there. It has some LEDs that help you understand a little bit of what's going on. But it's pretty much plug and play. So we've got to set it up a little bit, though, so I guess it's not quite plug and play. The ultimate MPU board. So we'll read a little bit of it. Getting started. Thanks for purchasing the ultimate MPU board. The following instructions will allow you to have your pinball machine operating quickly. If at any time you're unsure of how to proceed or have a question, stop. Now, why are they saying that? It's because you can fry this damn thing. The solenoid voltage is 43 volts. So if you're messing with stuff, you can fry something. We offer email support at blah, 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 with an ever-improving technical support page on our website. The Ultimate MPU board now includes a limited lifetime warranty. Yeah, you heard that. Limited lifetime warranty. Very limited. What's the way to put that? Minorly limited lifetime warranty. This is not a gimmick. If this thing breaks and it ain't working right, send it back to them. They're going to fix it. I've tested that. I have had some that were broke. I sent them back, and guess what? They fixed it. The firmware on the EEPROM has been included free of charge for the sole purpose of repairing your game. By using this product, you agree to the license agreement. So that's the legal eagle stuff. Before you plug in the board, all right, review Table 1 on the last page of this manual to determine if the clock speed jumpers need to be changed for the game being selected. The jumpers only need to be moved for the later model Stern games. You can also refer to the table below or the legend located next to the clock speed jumpers on the Ultimate MPU board. So, whenever Stern got into it, they started making an MPU board that was pretty much a copy of the Bally MPU board. But then they improved upon that and made the MPU 200, which did a little bit more stuff, right? So the clock speed apparently is different on that. So if you are running a Bally Stern MPU 100, you want the jumper over here, right? So since we're running a Bally, we want the jumper over here to match this legend. If you have a Stern MPU 200, you want the jumper over here. So like Flight 2000 used the MPU 200. And the main difference, I guess there's a clock speed difference, but the main difference was it had two 5101 RAM chips instead of one 5100 RAM chip. But there were only a handful of games that ever used that. So our jumpers we want for the vast majority of games will be on the right side. If you have the old MPU board that you feel has the correct dip switch settings for game features, go ahead and make the Ultimate MPU board game feature dip switches 1 through 32 the same as your old board. So these switches, depending on what game it's in, will change all kinds of stuff. The bottom two banks usually are used for like coin door settings. 1 coin equals 2 plays, 1 coin equals 5 plays, all this kind of stuff. And then game-specific things are usually higher up. And it's usually things like 3-ball or 5-ball, but it's also things like whenever you drop all the drop targets, what happens? Things like that. So each game has different settings. We don't have the original board, so we're going to have to actually look in the manual to set all of that. Another thing you can do, though, is all of those settings are also in the back box. So around the boards, there are these little pieces of paper that tell you all of the settings, so we'll probably just use that. Now, here's the most important part. Important. Connecting up. Important. Look, there's little stars. Important. Don't apply power until you have checked the 5-volt DC and 5-volt AC voltage. We've done that. We've extensively worked through the power supply. Before plugging in the Ultimate MPU board, get a flashlight to get a good look at the connectors that are hanging in the top left corner of the head of the machine. We just did that. If you have a Stern machine, you may have 2 extra connectors for the soundboard. They attach up here on the top. Visually inspect the cables for broken wires or bad pins. If you see any damage, you will need to repair this before continuing. Inspect the pins for corrosion. If you find any corrosion, further action may be necessary. Corroded pins could prevent your new board from working properly. So we did that. Now, make sure the 5-volt DC supply is functioning correctly. You only need to do this if you're using an old solenoid driver board. If you installed a new Altec Systems Ultimate Solenoid driver board, then move to the next page. Otherwise, continue the following steps. You know, I think I've got, let me see if I have that here. What have I done with that? Is this it? Yeah, look at this. If you have installed a new Altec Systems Ultimate Solenoid driver board, I actually have one, but it's not populated. It's a, what do you even call that? Clipboard. It's a clipboard. So I think this is like an unused, well, obviously it's unused, but I think maybe this was an error or something. Something's wrong with it, so he turned them into clipboards instead. But I acquired one of these. I appropriated one of these a while back. So this is what that driver board would look like. Ultimate Solenoid driver board. Again, make sure the Ultimate MPU board is not installed. Turn the game on. Using a digital voltmeter set to DC, measure the 5 volts between test point 1 and the ground test point located on the solenoid board in the top right corner in the head. The voltage should be between 4.9 and 5.25. Ours was 5.08, something like that. Place the voltmeter setting to AC. Measure the 5 volts, making sure you don't have more than 150 millivolts of AC. He's saying that because of this filter capacitor. We replaced that on our previous video, so we're good on that too. If that capacitor starts going bad, it lets AC ripple through on the line, and it does this, and the board doesn't like it. It wants nice solid voltage. If you have more than the recommended voltages, see the troubleshooting section before installing the new board in the machine. One special note, if you're installing this in a Baby Pac-Man or a Granny and the Gators, use test point 2 to check the 5 volts. After you make the measurement, turn off the game. If you don't have a voltmeter, see if you can borrow one from a friend or purchase one from Radio Shack for about 20 bucks. Radio Shack, he says. Harbor Freight. Once the connectors and power supply have been checked, mount the new board into the game. Install the board by placing it on top of the plastic spacers. Now, here are the little cards on his picture. You can see they're in most of those old school games, unless yours have been damaged. Plug in the connectors. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Power up. It's now time to set the MPU board for a specific game. Right, so let me show you. Let me show you here. The back page. Now, once you've done this a few times, you kind of just go to here, you know. You don't really need, I've read all that before, but I'm just trying to make sure everybody... I had somebody the other day say, man, you do videos and it's stuff you've done before. It's repetitive. It's because we get new viewers constantly. It rolls over, baby. We got new people all the time. So they haven't seen this. We haven't done one of these in a while. So, but if you've done it a bunch of times, you don't really need to read all that. You just know, check your 5 volts to make sure it's all right. Look at that connector, right? So the way you set it up is there is another set of dip switches right here. And depending on how they're set determines which game is in it. Okay. So if there is a 1, they're considering that on. So the machine that is all off is Bally's Freedom, which was, I think, their first solid state game. And then came Knight Rider. Looks like they did them looks like they did them in order. So anyway, this is a Strikes and Spares, which is right there. So our last 3 need to be turned on. If you got a little tiny screwdriver, it works the best. But there we go. Now the other thing that we need to do is set it on free play. Free play settings for Bally only. To place any of the Bally games in free play mode, just place the leftmost switch in the on position. Okay. Okay, so here's something else that's important. Look what this, whoa. Then turn off your credit display feature, which is either switch 20 or 27 of the game featured dip switches. Okay. So turn off your credit display feature. So let me tell you how I originally read that. I said, okay, we're setting it on free play, and then you turn off your credit display feature because it's going to say like 40 credits. So you don't need that. So yeah, they want you to turn it off, but I don't care about that. So I put this in a game, and that's what I did. I put it on free play, but I didn't turn off the credit display. So by doing that, it doesn't work. Like, it messed it all up. It would boot up, but it wouldn't. You couldn't coin it up. And it took me forever to figure it out. You could hit the coins, and it wouldn't coin up. And you could hit start, and it wouldn't start because it wasn't on free play. You've got to turn off that credit display, or it will not work right. Keep that in mind. Enhanced diagnostic test. Place the 2 leftmost switches in the on position. You can keep the other switches as they are. I think that's if you're emailing them, they may tell you to do that so you can check something or whatever. Memory clear function. Place all the switches in the up position except switch 1. And then other game software. This is weird stuff that it'll work in. But here are all of the Bally games that it can work in, which is basically just a complete list of the Bally games that use this board. I've had a bunch of those. A lot of them. And then here are all the Stern machines. I have had a Stingray, a Dracula. Might have something exciting for you coming about Dracula soon, people. Stay tuned. Wildfire, had that one. Nugent, I've had that one. Hot Hand, I've had that one. Stars. Flight 2000. Galaxy. Meteor. And that's about it. The rest of those I haven't had. The Stern games are a lot harder to find. Okay, so by doing that, we're about done. So I'm just going to go look in the cabinet and set these appropriately, and we're ready to plug her up and see what happens. So we've mounted it in. I plugged the lamp driver board in, and I plugged in all of the solenoid grounds. So we're going all the way live. So we're going to just see what it does. We're just going to have at it. You know, the only thing is we might get a coil locking on because we haven't tested any of that. But we'll see. If a coil locks on, I'll turn it right back off. There's no ball on the playfield, so I don't think it can damage that back glass line like that. So we're going to look at, there is a LED down here that is going to flash 7 times if it boots properly. It's a diagnostic LED. That's on the original board, and they've reproduced it on this Altec board. There's supposed to be like a really quick flash when it first powers up, and then 7 flashes, but a lot of times you can't see the quick flash. So we'll see. It doesn't like something. There's a light on. Let's see what the light says. Oh, it's saying power voltage, but the 5 volt is, oh, it's saying over voltage. Okay, over voltage, so we're too high. Okay, let me check that really quick before we burn something up. Okay, so I'm not sure why it's saying over voltage, but basically we're not getting the 5 volts onto the board. If you look, there we go. So the MPU self-test never came on. The over voltage light was on, but the 5 volt was not on. So testing with these test lugs down here, I did not have my 5 volts. So we've got some kind of problem there. Obviously it's going to be this connector. I then checked over here, and we did still have the 5 volts over here. So the solenoid driver's good. It's just it's not making it to the board. So it's either that connector. It could possibly be this connector up here too, but we'll see. So I'll have to repin that connector that I was saying, I don't know, looks good. Apparently not. So I'll start in on that. If I find a messed up wire, I'll show it to you. All right, so I've started on it, and sure enough, look how that is broken. That's not supposed to be like that. Come on, people, that's not right. Let me see if I can show you a good new one. Now these are smaller than the other ones. There you go. That's how it's supposed to look. And that's how it's going to look when I go through and replace all of them. Okay, folks, I went through and replaced every single pin. Look how shiny they are now. Look at that. Do them one at a time, people, so you don't get lost. Okay, and then I went over here to this one, and I started replacing the pins from the bottom. None of them were corroded when I took them out. So I did 4 of them just to make sure everything seemed all right. When I did that one, the bottom 5 or 6 pins were pretty messed up. A couple of them broke in half when I took them out. You saw that one was already broke. And those pins on the bottom are actually the ones that do the power. The pins on the top do solenoid selection. So they are actually the other side of this connector here. So that's how the MPU tells the solenoid driver, the bottom half of this, which solenoids to turn on and off. And all of those were fine, but I replaced them anyway because I just wanted to make sure. But the bottom ones were messed up, and that's where the power is. Now on this side, I checked it too. Again, there's a battery right here on the original board, and it eats up this area. It doesn't usually get this side as bad, just because of the way it's laid out. All right, so now that we have replaced that, let's see if we get anything any different. And again, we're looking to see if a coil locks on. We're looking to see if we get our 7 flashes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the reason I said 1 is because the first one was the quick flash that you sometimes get. Very cool. Wow, I never noticed that before. The spare inserts are all crooked. I wonder if they're supposed to be like that or if somebody just thought it looked cool. Because I agree with them that it looks cool. Okay, so we haven't done anything to this playfield, and I haven't done anything to the light board. So these lights being out could be the light board, or it could be the actual lamp is bad, because we haven't messed with any of that. But here's what we're going to do. Now this is a filthy pinball, but I'm going to allow it to travel from there to there one more time. I didn't turn on or off the credit display like I was supposed to. I didn't set any of the dip switches actually. Here, let's do that while you're here so you can see what I'm talking about. So if you go through, like I said, up here around the top, it tells you how to set all this up. So the first ones are in here. So the way they used to set things up on old school PCBs, they didn't have the software to store settings back in the day, way back. So you actually set little switches on the PCB. This held out all the way up through, I mean, they probably still use them on some stuff, but for arcade games and stuff, for instance, they use these all the way well up into the 90s. They were still using dip switches. As a matter of fact, Golden Tee still uses dip switches, and that's in the 2000s. So it's telling you that for the first coin shoot, switch 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's how it needs to be set. So if we want it set on 3 credits for 2 coins, then that's you delete everything off. But I want it to be 1 credit for 1 coin. So I'm going to use that second row. So I'm going to turn on dip switch 2. Now I'm also going to turn on dip switch 10, which will set that up. So I'm doing this row. By turning this one on, by turning those 2 on, it will set up coin shoot 1 and 3. Okay. So 2 is on the bottom here. Obviously it's the second one up. And then 10 is the second one on the second set. So I've turned both of those on. Okay. Now, maximum credits. That was just settings so that it could, you could tell the machine how many credits will you allow it to build up, right? Now these have a lockout coil on the door, on the coin door. So once it got to where it had 10 credits on it, it would lock out coins from being allowed to be put in. So we'll just set it on, I'm just going to set it on 40. That's how I usually set it. So it says 17, 18, and 19. So we can get 40 credits. Now, keep in mind it's on free play, so that's irrelevant. But my thinking is they're all off right now, and none of those settings are supposed to have all 3 of them off. So I just set it how it's supposed to be. Okay, so if we move over to here, it's hard to show you all this. It's kind of dark in there too. You'll just have to deal with it, people. High game feature. 3 free games for beating the high game to date. Do you want to turn that on? Yeah, we'll turn that on. So switches 6 and 7. Now that on a game in home play, do you really need to win free games? But I would prefer that you win like a free ball or something. But, you know, they can't really do it that way. So we turn that one on. High score feature. Award at each of 3 preset levels. For a free game, set 14 and 15 to on. For an extra ball, set 14 to off and 15 to on. I would rather do that. So we turned on switch 15. Do you understand my thought process there? Some people don't agree, but you're playing it for free in your house. So if you win a free game, you didn't really win anything. The first game was free. That's not fun to me. Some people say they love it like that. I believe our buddy Mark over in Australia has commented on that before, that no, I want to win a free game. Okay, I understand. But personally, I would rather win a free ball. Like if you get another ball because you beat the high score, that's much more exciting to me because now I can really run it up, right? So that's just how I see it. So I would rather set it where you get a free ball for beating the high score, one of the 3 preset high scores. But again, if you the high game feature is if you get the best score ever, they give you 3 free replays. Okay. Recommended replay settings for 3-ball. So since we're going to have it on 3-ball, I'm going to do this. So the special, you get a replay by turning 14 and 15 on. Oh, okay. Yeah. Bonus multiplier, blah, blah, blah. All of these are further explained in the manual for this game, not for the Alltech board. So the special replay is if 14 and 15 are on. But same thing there. I think I would rather the special be you get a free ball. So I'd have to look up how that's set. But the bonus multiplier, it's saying that for 3-ball, it'd be better if all these were on. So 22, 23, 24, and 29. 23, 24, 29. It's a little easier to do if you've got a screwdriver, like I said. 30 and 31, and then it says 32 would be better if it's off. Again, this is just stuff that's in the book, in the manual. So all of this stuff is changing. You know, it might change like what happens when you complete spare. Do you get 5,000 points? Do you get an extra ball? Do you win a free game? You know, stuff like that. So the reason I set it to 3-ball is 3-ball is usually more liberal. So it's just you get more free stuff. People, it says it in the manual. I mean, I didn't make that up. Come on now. Okay, so over here, game adjustments. I know this is not the best camera work ever, but you understand the situation. Okay, to set it from 3-ball or 5-ball, 3-ball is if switch 16 is off. Melody option. Play tunes, set 8 to on. Now you may have noticed that it played a little tune at the beginning. That's at boot up though. If you turn this on, this is an ancient game. It still has chimes in it. That's what you were hearing. It will actually play a little melody whenever the game starts, stuff like that. When the game's over, probably. If that's not on, it does less. Match feature. On, set 21 to on, off, set 21 to off. Kind of the same thing. I guess we could turn it on. But you're winning a free game. The problem with turning them on with your thumb, with your finger, is you turn more than one on. And then finally, The one that we needed. Credit display. Set 20 to off. So we are off. So that's good. Okay, so perhaps we can get it to boot up. And perhaps if the solenoids want to cooperate, we can get it to kick the ball out into play. Now, are the solenoids going to cooperate? I think so, because they cooperated when they made those chimes work, didn't they? So let's see if this has resurrected our game. I believe it has. I'm not sure all the chimes are working yet, but I think they are. Remember, we showed in the earlier video that the chimes have duct tape on them for some reason. So we should be on free play. If the switch will work. Yeah, so one of the chimes is tripping. You hear that, right? Okay, so it has kicked the ball out. Has the flipper survived? Oh, it has. It has. The flipper rubber hasn't, but the flipper itself has. Has the right flipper survived? Yes, it has. Now look what's going on. When I hit the flipper, I'm getting points. That's a very common thing. So what's going on there? Somewhere on this game, there is a switch that's very close. It's almost connected. And when you hit the flipper, that's just enough vibration to make the switch touch and give you points. So that's a little game within itself, trying to find out which switch it is. You can tell kind of by the points. I think I heard it do it twice, and then whenever I displayed it to you, it did it a third time. So it's something that scores 500 points. Yeah, see? That time I did it twice. Okay, so what scores 500 points? That in lane scores 500 points. And that in lane scores 500 points. So it's probably one of those two in lane switches, which makes sense because if the vibration is here, you know, either that or that switch would get most of the vibration and knock it, make it do its thing. Okay, this playfield is destroyed. We're not going to play a game on this playfield, people. I know you want to see me play it, right? But, you know, we have to be adults here. If I play this damn game with this ate-up, screwed-up pinball, and with all of this filth all over this machine, look at this. I can't play. I can't. Come on, people. People, come on now. We're going to screw this thing up. Okay, just one ball. But that's all. After that, we're not doing it anymore. We got to be adults here. The pops are... Oh, the one pop popped. Okay, that's all we're going to do. We brought it back to life with the new MPU from Alltech. But you see how it wasn't... That wasn't really the problem, was it? Did you watch the first video? The reason this game didn't work was because the power cord was all screwed up. Right? You saw that, right? And the reason this game didn't work was because one of the fuses was blown on the power supply because the 12-volt regulator had shorted out on the solenoid board. It was blowing that fuse. And the reason that the game didn't work was because the connectors were all burnt up on the power supply and needed replaced. And the reason that the game didn't work is because the display voltage, as soon as you turned on, as soon as you plugged in the solenoid driver board, it blew the fuse on the power supply again because the power supply had a bad diode in the display voltage section that would blow the fuse only if the solenoid board was plugged in regulating the voltage. And the reason that the game didn't work was because the connector to the MPU was rotted away, and even a brand new board's not going to fix that. Do you get my point? These things, they need a lot of work, so throwing boards at them usually isn't going to fix anything. Save your money. Save your money. I get people emailing me all the time. game wasn't working, so they bought all new boards. It's still not working. What do you think? I'm like, well, you're kind of in a worse position now than you were because something in the game was messed up, and now you've plugged new boards into it that now may be messed up, and you're $500-600 in the hole. You know, again, this is I'm showing off this board in this game, so buying the boards is cool, and I'm glad they're there. This one certainly needed it. Just think if Altec hadn't made this board, right? I had to have this board for this game. So they're great things. All of the new boards are cool. I like all of them, but they're not a what do they call it? A panacea? Is that the right word? They don't fix everything. I bet that's, I don't know. That might be the right word. All right. So we have now got the thing booted. We've got some solenoids that don't work and all of that. We got a bunch of lights that don't work. So next time we need to work through this playfield. So we're going to take everything off of it, clean it all up. You know, in a lot of the videos, I don't replace chipped pop bumper skirts, but these are ridiculous. Look how bad that one is. They're definitely getting replaced. So we're going to rebuild the pop bumpers. It's definitely going to happen, people. You're going to love it. And then we're going to have to repaint a bunch of this art. Another thing we're going to do that we don't usually do, we're going to remove the Mylar. Because somebody added the Mylar later, which screwed me because they put it over wear. So this chip in the playfield is underneath the Mylar. So I can't fix it. I have to take the Mylar off. So we usually don't do that, but we're going to on the next video. So I hope you enjoyed it so far. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. This thing's coming along great, I think. It's going to be a fantastic machine. Have I mentioned that this is a really fun game? It's not real complex. It's an old school 70s Bally, but it's a good one. It's cool. Got a nice theme. The colors are cool. The back glass is one of the best ever. It's just a cool game. It's worthy of however much time we got to put into it. So we're going to do it. So we'll see you on the next video. Make sure to check out my brother Donnie. If you haven't seen him before, he has his own channel here on YouTube. And I'm over there with him a lot of the times getting into trouble. We work on old pinball machines, jukeboxes, arcade games. My brother Donnie works on old vehicles, old buildings. We have a mobile home that we've been working on that we're going to be putting videos up pretty soon. So make sure to check out his channel. I'll see you over there, and I'll see you back in about 2 days where we'll start working on this playfield.